hello there once again. As always, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time for another RCS Live. As always, Nate Mumford, Director of Sales Engineering here, hanging out with you, talking today about GSelector. And this is actually a user-driven question from Ben. He was talking about reporting, and he was trying to find a better way to talk about reporting with his spins. And we went back and forth, and I was like, you do know that's the purpose of the analysis tab, right? We went back and forth, and he goes, that is exactly what I was looking for. So I thought, you know what? We're waiting for some beta for GSelector 5.1 and Zeta 522.1. So why not jump in and talk about some analysis on a Thursday morning, right? Absolutely. As always, I got my chat open over here. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter Live. If there's something we're missing, let me know. Get some housekeeping out of the way. Don't forget, we have a brand new state-of-the-art office over in White Plains, New York. If you want to check it out and say hi and talk some shop, we are there. Always looking for studio spotlights as well. If you want to showcase you and your studio with Zeta or GSelector, send us an email. I believe it's marketing@rcsworks.com, or reach out on social media. We'll find you over there too. And we're also heading back on the road as well. So we have a lot of great events coming up. I'll be at Texas Association of Broadcasters. That is on August 3rd and August 4th. So if you're going to be in Texas and again want to talk about Zeta, GSelector, Revma, Acquira, who am I forgetting here? All the mix, right? We're there too. RCS News, we'll do that too. And of course, even their great conferences, radio days, IBC, and so much more. And I know the NAB Fall Show just announced that our friends over at All Access, they were talking about too, about the expanded role in radio for NAB Fall Shows. So we got some cool things coming up for that as well. Of course, if you want to reach out to us, we got social media. We're here for you. I see it. All that good stuff too. So let's see here. We said studio spotlight, beta users. Always looking for beta users and careers as well. Careers over at rcsworks.com. Go to the company, go to the career page. Got a couple openings, I believe, still left over as well. And I bring it up because it is a very rare time for us to hire. And I know that one of our brand new support people was watching one of these videos and said that he, applied and got the gig, which was great. Awesome to hear. So let's dive right into it. As I said, I have my comments open here as well. Ooh, before I forget too, the archive over at rcsworks.com/RCS-live. That's our archive. Don't forget, all the videos are on our blog section, on our archive. We do a full write-up of all these videos, so you can save it for later. It's free. It's a great resource. Highly encourage you to check those out. Also, don't get your backups and data exchanges as well. Let's dive right in to our GSelector and specifically the analysis tab. So the first thing I want to bring up is, when do you want to use the analysis versus the reports, right? Treat the reports as, in my opinion, of course, everybody has their own ways of interpreting this. From my opinion, reports is more of a show me all the songs in these categories. Show me all the songs that feature this attribute. Show me all the songs as by artist, right? Things like that. Whereas the analysis is really about, what did I play during this date range, right? When we talk about spins, whatever it is, the attributes of spins, the songs spins, we're talking really about the analysis tab over here. Again, analysis, and yes, notice the breakdown of current station and multi-station analysis as well. If you're unfamiliar with this screen, I highly encourage you to check it out. We have the filter up here, which we'll talk about. We got spins, what we're spinning, what we're looking at, what we're analyzing. The date range over here, don't forget there is the wrap, block, grid, inclusion, exclusion as well. That's slightly different than the day parts here on the right-hand side, because if you have, let's say, an hour breakdown that's different from the day parts, you can do it over here. Case in point, if you want to look at your 9 to 5, that's technically outside of, the AM drive, midday, and PM drive, a little more specific and concentrated. You could go over here to, let's say, the block or something and do like a 9 to 5 across the region, something like that, if you wanted to. Again, all about control. That's the idea here. I'm trying to empower you to GSelector does what you want it to do. It's relatively simple when you think of that way. I want to see this information. We'll get you there, right? So the first thing we want to talk about in this window is this date range, right? Very, very common for in December, our users come to us and say, hey, I'm looking to do a top 100 of the year, right? How can I do that? Jump to your analysis, pick the date range of the entire year, sort by the top 100, boom, you're good to go. There's one little gotcha in here, right? And that's going to be the setup, right? Station, features, history. Setup, station, features, history. This days in the past and the cutoff and active days, right? This is going to tell you how much metadata we're saving in the GSelector environment. Now, to be blunt, it really depends on your situation. For those AAA formats, those college stations, a lot of time they're playing thousands and thousands of songs. How far back in the past can you go? It depends on your GSelector server, your songs, and your stations, and the users who are accessing that data. So typically, in my opinion, I always say, do it as much as you want based on the performance of your server, right? I had a very unique circumstance when I was a program director. I was doing 4 stations music logs. So for me, it was just me. So I had it on my laptop. That was the server. And I had all my stations on there, and it was fine because it was just me. If you have 7 stations with each station has 5,000 active songs being scheduled, and you have 5 users accessing it, and you're on a domain with restrictions and all that stuff, yeah, you might want to double check that performance for days in the past, right? That's the idea. But this number is only going to save whatever you have in the database. So if I have, let's say, 90 days and I do a report of 180, it's only going to give me 90 days of data because you have told GSelector I'm only saving 90 days of data. Now, we do have some users who will call support in December. This is a very common thing. You can actually open up your GSelector, take a backup of something, right? Open up your GSelector and you can create a brand new database, or we can help you do that in support. And what you do is when you open it up, it could be a backup from June, right? Take your June backup and essentially say, don't update the time. Pretend it's still June 1st or June 30th. And when we open up GSelector, it thinks it's June 30th and it saves all of your metadata from that time frame. So if you are a AAA station that's doing a year-end countdown and you want to improve performance, but you don't want to lose that metadata, yeah, of course, export your, every June, export the playlist of 180 days, see the spins and go from there. Great idea. We're all PDs. I get it. You forget. You're wearing many hats. Oh, shoot, I forgot to take that one report, that one analysis export. Give a buzz to support. We'll help you out. We'll grab one of those backups. Yes, you do need a backup from June. And then we'll grab that metadata, send it to you, and go from there. Happens with Sound Exchange all the time as well, just so you know. Yeah, very common stuff. So first things first, date range, make sure you have the proper active days. Now, what are we looking at here in this analysis? Remember, it's all about spins. Disclaimer for you, as always, this is my demo database. I am constantly adjusting things, showing listeners how to do stuff. I am constantly manipulating this environment for things that are not exactly everyday radioisms. So my one disclaimer, don't judge me on certain, spins or rotations or whatever it is. This is literally me playing with things, and I could break this incredibly and show you all the incorrect things you shouldn't be doing, but I'm much rather just talk about it and explain what you should be doing in this environment. So yes, don't judge me in regards to spins. I'm not saying that your A should be 75 for your hot AC format. This is just a demo database. So this is the spins I have from the date range of the past week up to, but not including 7/21 at midnight, right? So you can see a Thursday through Wednesday. From here, you can see there's a rank, there's spins, there's percentage, overnights, middays, all those breakdowns of day parts, the categories. If there only was some way you could right click on this, modify the columns, and add or remove metadata that you care about, you can do that here in this window. Don't forget this icon right here. You can also save your browse list in this window if you wanted to, right? So obviously, this shows you the spins, shows you the breakdown. I'm going to start diving right into some advanced stuff here and talk about how I like to utilize this window in regards to my yearly or quarterly audit on my station. For me, when I was a PD, had those gold records, those recurrents, I didn't have research every week like other stations. So for me, every quarter, I would go in there and just do a mass overhaul, looking at my rotations, looking at my spins, looking at certain songs, my coding, all that stuff, right? And you can see a full breakdown here in the analysis. So let's call a spade here. And overnights and nights, we don't really care about. Get rid of them, right? Depending on what you're, if you're a market one in New York City, yeah, we care about those markets. If you're not, typically you don't really care as much as the overnights and nights. Get rid of them. Look at those spins, right? Look at they orient over here. And so, by the way, I'm going to go back here and just show you here. Look at some of the examples. Now, the currents and the powers are pretty straightforward. When you start looking at these, getting rid of overnights and nights, you really got to start looking at your recurrent categories over here, right? And start looking at the breakdowns of some of these spins, right? So you can see there's a lot of stuff going over here. So what I did is, let's just say go back and we're going to audit the station. So I'm going to go back here, I'll do the 30th, something like that, right? Generate my analysis. That's going to bring up 30 days from right now. You can see my ABCs, some fills, O's and R's, all that good stuff. There's one in particular here I want to show you here. It's Portugal the Man, right? So you can see there's a lot of spins here. And what happens is when I take this record in particular, right? So notice how I'm going to go and do a print screen here just so we can do this, right? So I want to show you. We'll go right from here to here. All right, we'll do in the editor. Perfect. We'll jump over here, get rid of nights and overnights, generate the analysis here. So again, I want to show you, right, the order of which these two are playing. So this is my new one here. And I want to show you kind of how this works. So if you notice, come on, I'll get a little smaller here so we can get it in there. So notice how this is I want to look at the order of these songs, right? So this in the top window is going to be the songs that were all day parts in the order in their rank. And then when I removed the overnights and nights, how those numbers and those ranking changes. So look at this. I mean, Coldplay and Chainsmokers, something just like this, it's got 39 spins overall, or maybe the rank, can't remember which one it is. But the idea here is that when I put them side by side and I remove, notice how it's the first R with all day parts, but look how it drops. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the 10th most spun recurrent when I take away my non-primary day parts. And that comes into play when you think about it. If I have a song that's weighted a little heavier in my R category, let's just say the Chainsmokers and Coldplay is a well-testing song, and I want to give it a little extra love. It could also be, you heard me say this on past videos, the special sauce, right? This is what me as a PD brings to the table. I want to up the shift of this song in the golds tab. You can see how, wait a second, this, despite me wanting to get more spins, is not getting more primary day part spins, right? So that's the great thing about that. So, and I see over here, Nick, I do see in the second there too. And so what you can do here is I highly encourage you, because again, when you just do the analysis by itself, you're looking at the overall spins. But when you're really doing here is you're wanting to look at the analysis as it relates to your primary day parts. So get used to getting rid of overnight, getting rid of night, going through here in that date range and picking those songs across the board as well, to make sure you're looking at not just a snapshot of your station, but your station in the primary day parts that you care about, right? That's my first big thing as a pro tip for you. In addition, by the way, over here, this min spins versus minimum separation, max separation, average separation. This is some really great information here pertaining to whatever you're doing inside of your format. So for me, for the gold-based stations, right? Think of those classic hits. For me, I had a very classic hits core artist heavy weighted library. And what that means is I might have like 10 Fleetwood Mac songs, 10 Journey songs, 10 Eagles songs, 10 Billy Joel, 10 Elton John. They're all in there. And when you compare that to, let's say, a song like Corey Hart's Sunglasses at Night, right? By the scoring system, by definition, if I'm going to spread my artist and I have one Corey Hart versus 11 Eagles records with every Don Henley solo record on top of that, yeah, it's going to get a little bit of a lesser score in the mix. And so you might see this date range. You might go and do a generate analysis. You might leave overnights or take away overnights, your choice. But notice that min spins is 1. And this will show you exactly what you're looking at. Show me the history of songs in this date range, in these day parts. But wait a second. If you have a classic hit station and you have a very heavy core artist library, and you have, let's say, average spins of 4 times a week, take away overnights and nights, that's really like 2 to 3 spins. If you have 2 spins, wait a second, there's a very good chance that that record, based on your rules and your goals, perhaps may not schedule depending on what you have in your priority list. So what I highly encourage you to do is take that min spins, put it down to 0, generate that analysis one more time. Now, there's one little gotcha here. Look at this fill. This is my fill hold category, right? Now, I only have a demo database of like 216 songs. So this is pretty quick. You're going to know this instantly when you run that min spins generate analysis and GSelector sits there and you have 5,000 songs in your library and you do a date range for 6 months on 5,000 songs of metadata. You got to give GSelector a second to do that analysis, right? But the reality is that you don't care about some of those hold categories. We all have them. There's an old Saturday category. There's this old this category. We all have them in our GSelectors, right? So what I recommend doing, jumping to your library, right? And let's work smarter, not harder. Only use our currents. There's that filler. I don't need it. ABCOR. Let's save this filter over here. I've already done this, by the way. Jumping back to, I don't want reports or analysis. So going back to my analysis over here, I've already created a filter that is active categories only, right? I don't want that hold category, or I don't want that category of unwanted information, right? Now, for me, it's pretty straightforward. There's no fills in here, but you might want to have that or not have that based on those hold categories, right? So then from there, again, active categories only, spins, date range, day parts, primary. Let's look at this data and see what's going on. And I guarantee you, if you have a couple rogue songs in the mix, you're going to find a vast difference in that category. What I'm looking for as a programmer in this window, especially on my gold and recurrent categories, I'm looking at that 39 and I'm looking at that 31. And I'm telling you, you're going to see a gap in there. If you don't, awesome. You are doing a great job programming. If you see a big gap, it's not your fault. It's just a matter of there's things in there that you need to be more specific on how you want GSelector to rotate. And it could be just a weighted library. That's all it is. And so from here, you're saying, all right, let's just pretend this was 50 and this was like 3. Whoa, that's a problem. Go to the goals, up the shift on that song. Adjust your rules, adjust the coding on that song. I've seen users call in the support and all of a sudden they realize that they forgot to add a code into the song, or they added a code to the song that was a rogue code that they banned for whatever reason. They didn't realize that it was not associated with that one song. Stuff like that, right? Again, we're auditing our station. That's the purpose of what this exercise is. We're going to the analysis and seeing what spun for this date range, right? Makes sense? So that's the first thing. And by the way, if only there was, I don't know, a past video somewhere that you can go and reference, like rcsworks.com/rcs-live, that talked about priority lists and getting things nice and quick and easy with better rotations. We did it about 2 weeks ago. It's GSelector, I think, priority lists. You can check that out. There's the airplay starvation, which directly relates to this thing we're talking about here. taking that category, bringing the spins, much better rotations. You're going to love that video as well. Right? Any questions? Nick, I did see it. It's the the multi-song changer tab. We'll talk about it offline. I'll poke you on that one. Let's see here. We talked about the analysis. Get your questions in. Let me know. Auditing our stations. We covered the history days. Let's talk about the MinSep for a second. So for your current stations, you have a lot of Justin Biebers or whatever it is, or Doja Cats these days, wherever it could be. Now, the idea is that we could have a current station playing things as is. Yeah, it's a weighted library. Get all that. Spins, vocalist. I like putting in MinSep over here, right? Generate that analysis. I can see exactly the closest spins from some of these artists. And the really cool thing is that if I double click on the closest played, that's going to bring me back to the editor and that exact transition in here. So I can see where that transition is and fix that song depending on where it is in the library. So for me, but a very, very current heavy library that had a lot of core artists in it, I might go there, do MinSep, take this A, juggle it with that A, call it a day, something like that, right? Go back to the analysis. Remember, GSelector is dynamic. Move left to right. It's going to update that time. We'll go and check out the next element there as well. So that's a really cool feature, just minimum separation. You can do this on like sound code as well. But in my opinion, if you're doing sound code analysis, you're not looking for MinSep for the most part, right? You're looking just kind of the overall number of spins, stuff like that. But the vocalist and minimum separation is also really, really important in my opinion. And yes, by the way, I can go to, I forgot to show you this. I can go to song, generate analysis. I'll get rid of min separation for a second, jump to the history of this song over here. And there's a full breakdown of the history. As a reminder, red is 0 to 15, ppm, quarter hour clocks, red 0 to 15, blue 15 to 30, green 30, 45, yellow 45, the top of the hour. A very powerful tool for that history window for that song in itself, right? So we covered so far MinSep. Let's talk about exporting our report. Multiple ways to export your report. I'm going to purposely do this. I'm going to regenerate this analysis. I'm going to put back in overnights and nights, right? And I'm going to throw in a couple extra of these columns because I want to show you something here. So I'm just going to go boom, 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 right? Something like this, right? Now notice how this goes all the way to the right. There's a lot of fields here. This will do exactly what you tell it to do. File, print export, right? This is our print preview window. Notice if I scroll down, right? I should see some extra columns here sometimes where it's not exactly formatted, whatever it could be. Oh, that's because I have this adjust here. So what you want to do is when you have all these windows like this, you want to get everything onto a specific page, right? Again, I'm going to modify. Let's throw a couple more of these in. Just kind of, again, I want to purposely show you how expanded it is there. All right, cool, great. I was doing some exercise earlier on this. That's why. So I go to print exports down here. There's an icon right here called scale, right? So if you find yourself, there we go. See how it overlaps on the spreadsheet, right? That's not good. We don't want that, right? We want all on a single one. So if we go over here to the scale icon, notice it's a fit to page. Hit OK. Boom. We don't have that issue anymore. It's a great tool. Scale, fit to page, one page wide, call it a day. These widths, by the way, will respect whatever you have back in that window. So if you have a typical normal scale and you have, let's say, song is truncated, we will truncate that when we get to this print preview export window, right? So at this point in time, what do you want to do with this data? Well, there's an icon here, export document. Look at that, PDF, XLS, CSV. Those are the most common ones right now. There's also a doc in here if you wanted to. This is a great resource. You can see PDF, get your music, call it a day, have a consultant, get the music there, look at the spins, take it, put it, export as an XLS file, and then send your consultant. He can make some tweaks, bring it back in. A lot of cool stuff there. And by the way, if you need history of spins, same thing, right? File, print export. And you can see some of those prints there. There's some colors that are going on there too as well. I think it's got to do a, I'm mistaken, a quarter hour plot. I'll look at that too. different export. So I'll take a look and see what that is. So you can see there's some stuff there too as well. So yeah, a lot of stuff you can do here inside of the analysis tool. Very, very powerful. And again, when you're auditing your station, the idea here is you want to see what's spinning so you can fix certain things. If you see a category or something that you like or don't like, make an adjustment to your GSelector. Remember, it will do exactly what you want it to do. That's the idea of GSelector, right? So last call for questions here. So if you want to get a question in, now's the last call. Nick, I'm going to poke you offline on the multi-song changer thing that you mentioned. So we have, again, analysis versus reports. When we're talking about spins, we're talking about analysis. If we're talking about show me how many songs are in a category, that's a report. Don't forget to check your history A's, setup, station, features, history. We talked about exporting a report, checking minimum separation, the PDF, Excel, doing the scale and fit to page. That's in there as well. And of course, looking at minimum spins for your deep gold category, as well as your minimum separation or your spins here to look at different types of spin counts. Really cool stuff. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you can see where it's like, oh yeah, I think I'm going to run an audit and analyze my database. It's probably a good idea. And by the way, I'm not going to show you for right now, but there is also a multi-station. So you can see exactly, like I can jump and get my hot AC and my top 40 for a week, run a generate analysis here, and you can see it will break down some metadata here, specifically the spins overall with station A versus station B. Don't forget your browse list here as well. You can adjust this, lots of metadata, export, all that good stuff, right? Right, Thomas? Make sense? Awesome. Don't forget the archive, rcsworks.com/rcs-live. Also, the studio spotlight. You can email marketing@rcsworks.com. Oh, that's right. Thank you. I got it right here. Thanks so much, Felicia. Appreciate it. And so much more as well. So I'll see you next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time for another RCS Live. Have a fantastic day. I'll